This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
Yes. Yes, it is. Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast. Charity is haunting this studio today. She's not even here. Wednesday, August 17th, we unveiled our Throwback Thursday. Today is Belinda Carlisle's birthday. Belinda, if you're listening to the podcast, oh my gosh, we love you. We love bands like the Go-Go's. Just summertime, pop music, fun. Go-Go's, like just what a great band for that. First time I ever heard of them, they were part of the Police Picnic. The Police, Sting, Police, they would go out on tour, and theirs would be called the Police Picnic. I get it. And they would bring along, new bands. And it would start at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the Go-Go's were one of those bands that would play while the sun was out before it got dark and the police would take over. And it very quickly became, have you heard this band on the Police Picnic? These 5 rockin' women. It was amazing. And it didn't take them long when Beauty and the Beat came out and Go-Go's. Anyway, it's her birthday today. I don't know. I think she's 63 or 64. Still rocking out. Heaven's a Place on Earth, her hit. Anyway, Team Charity, I gave Team Charity, We Got the Beat. I took Head Over Heels, and We Got the Beat has virtually all the votes. So I don't disagree with it, but wow, she'll be pleased that I picked a song that she's going to get 99% of the votes on. But you can go on Facebook and vote for Head Over Heels. Much appreciated, but that would really only soothe my bruised ego. Wouldn't actually help you hear We Got the Beat, which looks like it'll be the win tomorrow. So that'll be coming up in the show tomorrow. What else is going to be going on? It's the opening day of the plowing match today. And I'm not going to say that the number one topic is going to be the weather, but I suspect that the number one topic might be the weather. We've got burn bans in the area, and we've got rain called for every day, and it hasn't shown up for a long time. And if there is a sector of society and economy that needs consistent rain, again, we don't need like major storms that we had 3 weeks ago and then nothing. We need consistent rain, a couple times a week, few hours at a time, maybe overnight. Farmers, agriculture, wine growing, golf courses, many others I'm not thinking of. Like you just want your well filled up, right? Living on a well. Go 3 weeks without rain. Shorter shower, please. Don't flush as often, please, right? So we could use a little bit of rain. Chance of that this afternoon. Chance of rain again tomorrow. Plowing match is underway. Now, good luck with everything that's going on out there and enjoy it. Always a good time. And then sun and cloud, 28 on Friday, sunny and 30 on Saturday for Rib Fest. And Rib Fest is back. He says, wait a minute, didn't you just talk about Rib Fest? Yeah, we get 2. Because we're the Quinte region. We get 2. 2 weeks ago was in Trenton Centennial Park. Awesome. This weekend, Westwick's Park, Belleville. Double awesome. Twice Rib Fest. Get out there and enjoy that. This morning on the show, we had a discussion about how Japan actually busted some of their own people behind the Tokyo Olympics. I just think that if there was suspected corruption in an American bid and in an American Olympics, that if they suspected there was a problem, that would be, I'm not saying covered up, I'm saying they probably would have made some arrests. I don't think they would have trumpeted that around the world, is my point. Not just because it's embarrassing, but because bids for Olympics are ongoing. Japan, for example, which hosted the Tokyo Olympics last summer, should have been 2020, so that had its own disaster. And then it finally went in 2021, and then they couldn't have people in the stands, so they lost a lot of money. They said it would cost $13 billion, and it cost $25 billion, and they didn't get any of the revenue from seats. I mean, disaster. And now this, one of their Olympic Committee members was arrested yesterday on suspicion of bribery because the company that they used to clothe the athletes really came out of nowhere. Nobody had really heard of them. Most countries have, Nike or Polo, like a major, well, like in Canada, we have Roots. You know who they are. Lululemon was, we know who they're going to be. Nobody ever heard of this company. They make, school for children in private schools. They make the uniforms. Like you would go to high school, you get a uniform. Could you imagine that company all of a sudden outfitting the Olympians? Well, how'd that happen? Well, apparently a little bit of money might have changed hands, supposedly. So some people got arrested on that yesterday. And that made newsworthy around the world. A, as it should, but B, good luck, Japan, when they bid on the 2030 Winter Olympics. That's what they're going to be doing. So we'll find out. I mean, I've made my stance, plain before. I'll say it again. I think the Summer Olympics should always be in Greece. And all the money that you spend building all of these facilities that then just sit there, we spend billions. Just have it all in Greece. And then every 4 years, you got 4 years to retire the track, patch up the pool, make sure everything's okay on the basketball courts, maybe paint a few seats. But then all of the Olympic records are in the exact same track, in the exact same pool, on the exact same court, on the exact same grass. It's not different based on elevations or weather forecasts that are different in different countries. Always hold it in Greece. It'll be cheaper. We'll know the times. We'll be used to it. I know, but it's such a huge draw for tourism. I get that. But when the Olympics came back in like 1892, there was no television. There was no internet. So it would travel around so everybody could see the Olympics. Well, now everybody travels. You could go anywhere. We watch it on television. We follow it on our phones. So technology has really made moving the Olympics irrelevant, other than the fact that every country gets a chance to lose its shirt and go into debt on the Olympics. And then you hear about this corruption. And the Winter Olympics, that's a little testy. I'd like to see it at maybe Lake Placid so that it's in the Eastern time zone. But then that means huge countries like Russia and China never get the Olympics. And I don't think they're in on that. So I don't know what we're going to do with that. But at least the Summer Olympics, I'd rather just see it in Greece all the time. That's got some historical reference. And then this morning, too, we talked about Canada Helps. Now, I'll spend a little bit of time on this. Canada Helps is a public foundation, and it provides support to charities in Canada, as well as running the country's largest platform for you if you want to host a fundraiser or to donate. And then they compile a lot of the statistics, and they'll put out a public report. And what it's found that over the last few years, the number of donations from Canadians has been declining. And it's been declining well before the pandemic. I mean, starting about 2015. And it's been noteworthy. As a matter of fact, they took a look at stuff like StatsCan that said that in 2019, only 19% of Canadians claimed charitable donations on their tax return. 1 in 5, compared to 1 in 4 in 2006. So that's a fair amount of people that dropped off in about 15 years. They also said that over the last few years, only one age group demographic has seen an increase in giving, and that was Canadians 55 and older. There's a problem with that. 55 and older, eventually, well, they're closer to passing on than anybody else. But you say, okay, but by the time you're 55, Mark, my gosh, you paid off your house, hopefully. Kids are out of the house, hopefully. Getting closer to retirement, hopefully. You've got more disposable income, and the old joke used to be, and you want to get to heaven, so you're giving money to charities. You have the opportunity to do it. Well, that might be true, but now gas got up to $2 a liter. Inflation became an important issue. And if you're retired, well, you weren't exactly budgeting for this kind of gas prices and inflation, were you? So this disposable income that you might have thought you were going to give to charity ends up having to go into the refrigerator and the gas tank. So now what do charities do? Let's put on top of that 2 other important features that they make very plain in the report. Number 1, there are probably twice as many registered charities in Canada than there were at the turn of the millennium. Twice as many. So there are many more to give to. It becomes a little bit crowded, a little bit confusing. People get a little bit more wary. Then you start hearing other things about email scams, and now you're really wary about a charity you've never heard from. It may do great work. You may totally support their aims, but is it too good to be true? So you might not do it. And the second reason is that simply younger people are not making donations to charities. Does that mean they're not charitable? Does that mean they don't care? Not at all. It simply means the way of giving to charities has changed. So, for example, Canada Helps does not track or include GoFundMe or any other crowdsourcing. It is an organization for registered charities. And they point out that younger adults are very much into social justice issues. They hear of a particular need right now. There's crowdsourcing available. They give to that. So that wouldn't show up on a tax return. But to a young person, and legitimately so, that's a charitable donation. They gave. No, they didn't give in a way where it's going to show up on a stat report for a registered charity, but it doesn't mean they don't care. They gave money for this social justice issue, and or they volunteered their time. That also doesn't show up on a tax return or a charitable donation. Younger people want to get involved. And when you stop and you think about it, remember how we used to always say, if you can't open up your wallet, find a way to volunteer. Younger people see the involvement issue and speaking out as being as important as handing out dollars. And so that also didn't show up in this report. And the second part is that a quarter of Canadians said they probably will not be able to give to charities this year because of inflation. So that's a huge chunk. The double-edged sword is that perhaps it could be the same quarter, but 25% of Canadians also said, I'm going to have to use a charity this year when I never have before because of the inflation. So we're going to drop 25% in donations and increase the need by 25%. In what areas? Number one, lack of affordable housing. This is where it's really getting to be a pinch. Number two, lack of income supports. Used to be able to make it go on my pensions and my savings and my salary. Well, now inflation, no. All of a sudden, it's not keeping up. And a lack of pathway to decent employment. I have, an enough education and I used to be able to get a job with that, not so much anymore, which is a huge, enormous concern, particularly when you see help wanted has. You can walk around and everybody's like, I got jobs here, but they're not jobs that you can live on. Often they're not jobs that line up with my education. These areas are slowly going away as entrepreneurs are trying to do their best to fill needs. So lack of affordable housing, income supports, pathway to employment are deep, deep concerns by people in the charitable sector who are trying to help people and help those who want to donate. But again, not all is lost. Reports stated younger Canadians do give if they have the means to do so. It's just not always in a way where mom and dad and grandpa always did. But as a result, they're finding a way to do it through different sources. So thanks for all you do. We live in a fabulous community. I know from all of the organizations I've worked with that there is so much gratitude from hospitals and major donors, from Heart and Stroke to the United Way to many, many others that I'm, just off the top. I know, the Red Shoe Walk with the Three Oaks Foundation and women's shelters. They are very, very impressed with the giving in our community, but always find a way. Once we get into the school time, if you can donate time, if you can donate money, find a way to do so. Again, tomorrow, sounds like it'll be We Got the Beat, but it's early. Maybe the Head Over Heels Go-Go's crowd gets up a little bit later. Head on to Facebook on 95.5 Hits FM. Get your vote in. Winning songs coming up tomorrow. Jimmy's going to take a look at new movies. Bullet Train's been number one at the box office, and it is really dragged it down. We need a better movie than that one. So Jimmy's going to take a look at new movies coming up for you tomorrow morning, and lots more when you wake up at 95.5 Hits FM. It's Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast, usually up by 11 o'clock. You'll find it daily wherever you get your favorite podcasts. I'm Mark Philbin. We'll talk to you tomorrow.